Hello and welcome back to the Bobby and Beardy Show, or if this is your first time, hello and welcome to the Bobby and Beardy Show. I'm Bobby, this fine gentleman over here is McBeardy, and you can use time codes below to skip or avoid any sections you want, including spoilers, or just straight to spoilers if that's your thing. Today we're going to be discussing Boy Kills World, but firstly, Beardy, how the devil are you, sir?
I am good, yeah. No, I've done a lot since the last time we recorded or even spoke. We definitely don't do these very, very quickly sometimes. But no, I'm good. Got some plans coming up this weekend, going out for my other half's birthday this evening, so that's lovely. Nice. Yeah, pretty good. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm going on holiday tomorrow, so I'll probably be back by the time this goes live, actually. So, yeah, looking forward to that. It's going to be a nice, pleasant, peaceful time, and hopefully a nice reset. Just a mental reset. Grand stuff. Should we crack on with the show?
I believe so.
Excellent. Well, here's the rundown for Boy Kills World. Boy Kills World is an action comedy directed by Moritz Moore. It's his feature directorial debut. And it's from a screenplay by Turler Burton Smith, Erin Remmers, which is in turn based on the story by Remmers and Moore. The film stars Bill Skarsgård, Jessica Rothe, Michelle Dockery, Famke Janssen, Charlotte Copley, Brett Gelman, Isaiah Mustafa, and Andrew Koji. The film's plot follows Boy, whose surname is Killsworld, played by Bill Skarsgård, who via trauma has become deaf and mute, and he goes on a campaign of vengeance and violence after his family are murdered. He's trained by a mysterious martial artist shaman to become an instrument of death. And Boy, again, surname Killsworld, inner voice is presented by H. John Benjamin of Archers and Bob's Burgers and many other voice actor role fame. And that's the inner voice is derived from a childhood video game that he remembers. The release date in the UK was the 26th of April 2024, and the budget, I couldn't quite find specifics, but it's reported to be 18 million, and so far has made 1.8 million worldwide. So it's not rolling in those Australian dollars at this present time. I've got a theory on that, if you'll let me divulge for a second.
As long as you let me afterwards.
Okay, brilliant. I think it's partially to do with the fact it's rated R/18 here in the UK. I think this film would have done better if it was a 15. Just because you can get more eyes on the product. I think this film has... I like the film. I'll just say straight off the bat, I did enjoy it. I think it has gore for the sake of gore sometimes, and I think most of this could have been done to a 15 rating. I don't think you'd have had to change or take out too many things. I know it's kind of losing its unique selling point a little bit, but when you can get more... It's the same reason why a lot of big blockbuster movies try and get that PG rating, so that you can get everybody on it. So if you go 18 and there isn't massive interest in the property, you're kind of cutting the legs out of yourself before you start. Maybe this will have legs on streaming. I can see people watching it casually in their own home. And like I say, it's not a bad film, but I do think that's one of the stronger reasons why it hasn't done amazingly in its first week.
Yeah, so obviously I messaged you when I went to see the film, and I told you at one point I was the only person in the cinema. By the end of it, there was me and 4 other people, and this is on a smaller screen as well, so it wasn't great to see it that empty. I'm concerned, as I said to you, about cinema in general, especially where I live. But I do think that a film that obviously is quite gory, and as you say, in some situations, gore for gore's sake, it isn't as bad as it could have been or I expected it to be, if I'm honest.
Absolutely.
A lot of it is a lot tamer than I thought, and I think there's that expectation. So I didn't see this with my other half because she thought it would be far too gory. And don't get me wrong, there are some parts that even make me a little bit cringe, but it wasn't as bad as other films I've seen or as bad as I expected it to be, in all honesty.
Absolutely. I think quite a lot of the gory scenes are skimmed by. There's a few in particular. There's a corridor scene where it's kind of mostly you focusing on the face. Something I criticised Challengers for quite a lot. But I actually thought it worked in this, and you kind of see the aftermath. And it's not every scene as well. There's a couple of limbs being removed, and it's kind of the Monty Python, you've got a hose pipe spurting red liquid around. So there are, towards the back end, there's some slightly more visceral stuff, you could say. But if that is the thing that is kind of bumping it to the 18, I would have probably just kind of backstep a little bit on that and gone for that 15 rating personally. I'm wondering which one, without going into too much detail, which thing made you wince the most? Did it involve a cheese grater? Because that was the one that got me.
It was the noises that went with it as well. They were quite, I assume, accurate. I've never had that happen or had done that to someone, but I assumed it was what it would sound like.
But you could imagine it happening to you, right? Because we've all accidentally caught ourselves grating a carrot or whatever, and have that like on any part of your body intentionally like pulling. No.
It's, again, like I said with challenges, I don't like pain and injury stuff. Apparently, this one wasn't as bad as seeing someone's knee get hurt. Weirdly for me, because I knew it was happening and it was so over the top. But still, no. To me, this is like the stepped up version of licking wood. You can feel it. You know what it feels like, and then suddenly this happens. And you're like, oh God, no.
Amy wanted me to specifically mention the cheese grater because that was the thing that made her go ooh as well.
Yeah.
Nice, so, I do think in general, dial it back to a 15, get more eyes on, because what you do see isn't often enough to justify it being that gory either, but it is what it is.
The thing is, it's a good enough film that more people need to see it. Like, it was well done. I think it's an interesting take on the genre, and there's obviously a lot more I want to say, but it needs to be seen, and I think people are shying away from it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, absolutely. That said, though, I haven't really seen that much advertising for it either. I think I saw one trailer in the cinema, and I haven't seen anything else. So if you're not pushing the marketing, and it's an 18 saying gore, anyway. What did you think of, moving away from the gory stuff and into more plot kind of things? What did you think of the inner monologue gimmick? Because that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, no, I actually really liked it. I think that it's something that needs to happen more, especially in this situation. Obviously, it fits really nicely because he is deaf and mute, so he does have his own world, and his inner monologue is going to be very important. I do enjoy the fact that obviously he's voiced by H. John Benjamin, because he's kind of forgotten what he sounds like, and he's gone, well, this sounded cool. I'm going to sound like this in my head. And you know what? Yeah, fair play to you. I would do the exact same thing. I don't think anyone's ever fully happy with their voice, so fair play. I do like that. Well, yeah, fair enough.
I think I'm one of the few people on the planet who's quite content with his own voice. I don't know.
I sound different day to day, man. Like, I've listened to myself on this. I've been made aware recently how I sound, and I just can't unhear it. So, in my head, H. John Benjamin now.
It took me a little while to warm to, and I think the reason for that is because when I saw the trailer for it, I didn't think the voice and his inner thoughts were necessarily matching up very well with the facial acting. So I kind of went in a bit like, I'm not sure this is going to work, but actually I did warm to it. And I did enjoy it.
I do think it's the correct choice and needs to be done, because obviously this is kind of a comedy, and as much as the Skarsgård brothers and Bill Skarsgård specifically is a fantastic actor, I don't think he lends his voice to comedy as well as H. John Benjamin does. I think very few people do. So it was a great decision.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think this is a pretty funny film, if I'm completely honest with you. It is a comedy, like you say. I think specifically in the second act, the middle third, even if you wouldn't consider that to be the specific act, I think that is where a lot of the comedy is.
Definitely.
It builds into the comedy. The starting is a lot of just like setup, training, shaman stuff, and then it gets funny. There's a few like physical comedy moments of deaths and things like that, and then there's just good jokes as well. So it's funny.
I can't remember if it was the director or someone else. I think it actually might have been Sam Raimi who said this. He described it himself as an effed up fairy tale and a funny martial arts film. And you know what, the comedy comes across. It definitely does. I do think the comedy is driven by his interactions. Like, there is a lot of slapstick fighting in it, all things taken into account. But the way that he talks to, or doesn't talk to, I guess, the people around him, it even gets mentioned like 75% through the film with this guy he's been with for most of the film. It's like, I've just noticed you don't talk much.
That's one of the funniest bits of the film, honestly. I love that line. Bosho, he befriends a guy called Bosho semi-early on, who is very erratic, and he talks a lot, and and things. But they're just suddenly realizing, like, most of the way through the movie, that this guy you've been hanging out with hasn't said a word to you. It was quite amusing.
Obviously, it's not too much of a spoiler if we don't say who it is, but he obviously learns through his life to read lips, and you know what? That makes a lot of sense. You can't hear, you can't speak, you read lips, and then it's not something I thought about or even considered would come up, but the fact that he does meet someone and he can't read his lips,
it's great. Yeah,
it's comedy gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
The part I liked more than that is the fact, obviously they put that in, which is brilliant, but the fact that then what he mishears, they then show a little sketch of.
Yes, absolutely. I've got a note here.
That was so
great visual comedy. He's mishearing this guy. He can't decide if his beard's like messing him up, or he's got an accent, or he's foreign, or he's just speaking a different language entirely. So he's just trying to figure it out. And then you see him imagining what they're talking about while they're discussing plans or what's going to happen next, or things like that. It's very funny. It's a routine, like, the funny bit they do a couple of times, and it does work.
There's a point where he talks about, like, spaceman baked ham, and this spaceman just walks out holding a ham next to something else he's pre-heard, and it's just so well done. There's also the point where, like, he hears something and it's like, oh, that sounds nice, and then looks at the guy and the guy starts crying. It's like, oh no, it's not nice. It's just so good.
There's funny bits involving, I don't mean this is a spoiler, he imagines his little sister, who's quite a main character through his imagination, and it's kind of almost his inner conscience as well, a little bit, but still set to being I think she's under 10, I imagine. And in fairness, and he is essentially like a 12-year-old boy in a very ripped man's body, but that's kind of like his emotional state, and he's still kind of in that video game mentality. But his little sister brings a lot of comedy as well. There's some she dresses up in various disguises. Some are incredible. Like, if he's in a disguise as well, she's kind of matching it. There's matching miniature cake at one point as a chef. There's another very funny bit where they involving a cheese grater in a non-violent way, which is very funny, just being chefy. And things like that. I think the film has a lot of interesting side characters around the pivotal point of a person who doesn't really emote that much back to people. Which I think works quite well, especially when you meet some of the baddies, essentially, because they're all quite fun and interesting, and they've got their motives as well. I do think Bosho as his main friend was a bit too much for me at times.
He's a good contrast.
He is, apart from his voice, which is, I would say, too gruff.
True.
Because you've got the main character whose gimmick is having a gruff inner monologue, like cool voice, and then you've got Bosho with a very gruff voice as well. I would have potentially had a different vibe going for that. If that's just that guy's voice, then you can't do anything about it. But
so I do want to compound something obviously you said. So there's the point where they're finding out the plan when they're trying to break into a secure facility, and obviously Bosho's side of it he keeps hearing, the other side of it he doesn't hear. His imagined little sister keeps telling him, like, just smile and nod, this seems important. And then obviously by the end of it he has no idea. So he turns up at this place, he's told to do chef things, so he picks up a grater and starts grating an orange as he walks around. Just up and down stairs.
So nobody's blinking an eyelid either. They're all like, no, this guy's a chef. Fantastic jokes.
But with the costume side of it, again, obviously you know this, but the first then when they're trying to blend in, what is that called when you wear something to blend in? Disguise. God, I'm having a stroke.
I was like, hang on, he can't be trying to think of the word disguise. It's too obvious. So I was trying to think of something
disguise.
else.
No. The first disguise is obviously 7-year-old. Well, in my mind, she was 7. I don't know why. His younger sister. She's like, oh, we can be ninjas, but I'm going to be a ninja with butterfly wings. She cuts off screen for a second, then cartwheels on wearing it, which is it was really well done. And obviously it's a great plot point because obviously he only sees her, no one else can, but he dives to take her out of the way when she might be hit by something.
He
interacts
with her
to progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very well done.
yeah, the comedy in this film is very good. Which is maybe they should have genuinely just lent more into that and less into the violent, gory stuff, and then you'd have had a more of an action comedy than anything else. But maybe I'm wrong. Like I say, this could have massive legs on streaming, and it probably will.
Yeah. It will.
I think as a film, there's enough twists and fake outs as well to keep you motoring along with it. I don't think it gets boring too quickly.
That's something I didn't like.
Well, there's a main one, which I do want to go into in a lot of spoilers.
Oh, yeah. But I honestly went into this film thinking it's just going to be a silly, gory beat 'em up. And honestly, the plain story without twists is more than enough to drive that for me. I wanted a film where I didn't have to think, didn't have to be like guessing what's happening. And then there is a point partway through where something happens and I start thinking, actually, no, this not all adding up now, which, again, we'll discuss in spoilers. It was good with the twists, but I was hoping for a film that doesn't have it, because I think far too many films have twists.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it needed it either, or them, to be honest. I think a very simple vengeance, revenge, big kicky punch, kill, murder thing is enough sometimes. I mean, The Beekeeper, which is essentially that, at the very start of the year, with old Jason Statham, that is what that film is. It's a big punchy, kicky revenge thing, because a friend of his gets killed. And that's enough. And it made loads of money.
Yeah, no, the original John Wick, obviously the subsequent ones have had twists. Even
too many, I'd say, in John Wick. There's too much lore going on there, but a different argument for a different day.
You don't need the twists to make it work. Like, a good revenge story is enough, as long as you set the groundwork, which they did a good job of, even though the training sequence with the shaman gets a bit psychedelic and creepy.
Yeah, it goes on a bit. It takes a while to get going because of there's a very extended young kid training montage, which probably isn't needed. There's a lot going on with the world as well. In general, there's like this dystopian future, but you barely skim any of the surface. And I'm like, could have given me a smidge more, but that's fine. The Van der Kooi family, who are the baddies, they are just the worst family. They hate each other so much, and they are ready to turn on each other at the blink of an eye. They've had it up to they've had it up to here with all of these shenanigans, and I very much enjoyed that. The family in general are all very fun, and again, because you've got your main character who is, deaf and mute, not doing all that much, having all these silly characters who are just they're not even. He just stares stoically at them, and they like start giving him information, and like it's fun. It's fun.
Do want to give credit to something else. Obviously, I don't know. I think it shows it in one of the trailers. So it's not a spoiler here. But one of the characters that he interacts with the most is sort of like their main fighter, June 27th, I think her name is.
Yep. Something like that,
yeah. And she's wearing this sort of biker helmet. And it only hit me halfway through. She has this, obviously, this LED screen that keeps coming up and showing things and saying words. And I was like, okay, that's a cool little gimmick. But if they didn't have that, he wouldn't be able to read lips. So having the words on there is the only way he can understand what's going on, which is a genius way to have that interaction. I didn't even think about that until about halfway through, really.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, fair play. Yeah, I hadn't dawned on me in the slightest. I think I'm ready to almost go into the spoilers if you are.
I've got a lot more spoilers than I do otherwise.
Okay. So yeah. I will just say in general, the shaman element, not the biggest fan of. I think it could have been done in different ways. It's a bit too weird. And it doesn't. I don't feel it necessarily fits perfectly into the story they're telling of Big Punch Revenge. I mean, you've got to train you for your martial arts, but I feel like it could have been done in a different way, which I'll go into in a bit. Ready for spoilers?
Yes.
It's a thumbs up from me.
Definitely a thumbs up from me. 100%.
Perfect. We've actually already. My first spoiler is the thing we've already talked about, which is Bosho saying halfway through the movie, "You don't talk much."
It was such a good throwaway line.
So very, very funny. Take it away with the spoilers. You lead.
So the big twist, I guess, is his backstory from the beginning that we know of is every year there's a culling of this dystopian future. Enemies of the Van der Kooi family get killed, and his family, his mum and his sister specifically, are killed. He then, as we see, has his ears and tongue destroyed, hence the deaf and muteness, and we see him hanging from a tree where the shaman then saves him. the shaman then spends years training him up to exact revenge. He's going to be the weapon, the instrument of their demise, which gets mentioned a lot of times. And you know what, like I say, that is, for me, is enough of a story to drive it. The fact that the big twist is actually he's part of that family, he's misremembered it because the shaman's brainwashed him. The main big bad is his mum, and the fact that even like June 27th is his sister. So that one I got. I figured that one out halfway through. The rest of it was very much as it happened. I had no idea. It doesn't ruin the story, but I don't think it needed it.
I think the reason we probably didn't have any idea about the shaman thing is because you just didn't feel like the story needed it. So you weren't looking for it. Yeah, so basically he thinks his family are dead, his mum and his sister. His sister is alive. She is one of the main guys he goes against in fighting several times. I do have questions about why and how she became this motorcycle wearing killing machine with a LED screen telling people to shut up and stuff. Like, what happened there? Was like, why? Like, that's your only child left. Your other child's been kidnapped and presumed dead, and now you've done that. It doesn't really make any sense. I mean, the mum is crazy and paranoid, but at the same time, I'm like,
oh yes,
what? So, and ultimately, that is a nice story because he spends most of the film with his younger sister, there's an 8-year-old, and then he finds his older sister, and then they do leave and survive and go off together. So it's a happy ending. Great stuff.
Yes.
Like I said just before spoilers, I think the shaman stuff is unnecessary twist, and I also think if you do want to do the big twist, I personally would have liked it in a better way. I don't really like the shaman element of psychedelic mumbo jumbo stuff. I think it would have been more interesting if he was a big political rival trying to like get control of the city or country or whatever's going on, who's kidnapped him and like brainwashed him in a different way, making him watch television or something.
Clockwork Orange style.
Yeah, exactly. And then have that twist, and then have him like come out at the end. I don't know. It felt like there was two separate things happening. There was this main movie, dystopian future, and then this really old school kung fu throwback. And I didn't think they meshed very well, especially with the big twist at the end where the shaman comes back and he'd killed their father, and then the mum was trying to get Boy to kill that family as revenge, but the shaman escaped, and then he's the one who's done all the maiming to Boy. It wasn't the it wasn't the Van der Koys at all. He deafened him by putting a red hot poker in his ears and did something to his tongue and
cutting out his tongue.
Yeah, and it's pretty horrible. I just felt like it was two different things, and I would have preferred it if they did want to do a big twist, to have executed it in a different way with a slightly different, more political kind of thing, family betrayal thing. I think that would have worked slightly better for me. That's kind of the main problem I have with the story I'm presented with, is I don't like a main element of it. But
like, again, it's still a great film. 100% watch it. It doesn't ruin it, but it could have been done differently, or like I say, I don't think it needed it at all. But
agree.
It was still a good watch.
I think, to be honest with you, I think I'm all out. I've just got one thing for you. H. John Benjamin apparently has a cameo as a Van der Koy soldier at one point, and I think...
Oh, really?
Because he's obviously the voice. I think it's when he's in the marketplace, when Boy is a boy, and he passes him with a note saying, "I'm deaf and mute, leave me alone, please," essentially, and he's like, "Get on." But I might be wrong. I'm kind of just remembering that guy's face, and I'm putting it as H. John Benjamin's face, but I might be wrong. Just a fun little thing to end for you there. So there we go. That's our review. I recommend it, but it's not perfect.
I had something else to say.
Well, go for it.
Just very, very quickly. I do like the fact, obviously, this imagined sister that he has all the way through kind of works as his conscience. Obviously, partway through, things get a bit too violent, a bit too gruesome. She's like, well, you don't have to kill everyone. And there's a point where she kind of backs away from him, hides from him, because she's maybe a bit more scared of who he's becoming, what he's having to do to get there. I really enjoyed that. Maybe, again, I might be reading a tiny bit too much into it, but that's how it seems to me.
No, that's how I read it too. 100%. That was intentional.
Cool. I also did like the end, obviously. So there's a point where Boy is escaping with his sister. They run into Shaman, and they kind of have a little discussion, well, not even discussion because Shaman doesn't talk, but June says something and they start fighting, and Boy is a bit broken still, and it's very much a fighting for his freedom, for his conscience, which again I quite liked. And then obviously he joins in. It's a nice little beat him up that's very, very gruesome at points,
probably the most gruesome part of the film.
And then we haven't seen his imagined little sister in a while. And then she kind of shows up at the end to help him defeat Shaman. And again, I don't know about you, but at that point, I figured she turned back up because June is dead. I honestly believe that the only reason she's there is because he knows June is now gone, and he's seeing her again, because when he thought she was dead, he sees her. Now she is, he sees her. Turns out, obviously, I was horrendously wrong. June is not fine, but not dead.
I might be misremembering that. Isn't it when he kills the shaman, finally, isn't it him as a younger boy who's helping him push down, or are you talking about a different thing I've forgotten about?
I thought it was his sister.
I'm pretty sure it's younger him doing it, getting revenge.
Oh.
Well,
that's upsetting.
Well, now you're going to have to watch it again. I'm going to
have to watch it again.
I don't think his sister turns up again after he kind of dismisses her. When she is unhappy with what he's becoming, and then because very soon after he then meets his actual sister.
It's very much as soon as he decapitates one of the Van der Kooi family, she's just gone. And I assume, because, like I say, very quickly he then notices that June is his sister, and I thought, you know what, because she's actually in the physical world, he doesn't see her as an imagination, and then that's why to me it clicked that when we think that she's dead, she's back. But I'm going to have to watch it again. If I'm wrong, I apologise. I owe you a bit. If you're wrong, you owe me one.
I think it would work well if it was both his younger sister and his younger self doing it, actually. Coming back to assist. This is his childhood finally overcoming the mass trauma that his mum started on him by making him kill a bunch of it. The shaman was alleged to have been like a rebel, but then he was killing the potentially innocent children. Well, the children, they're probably innocent, let's be honest, and the mum, who you don't know, but and then that kind of spirals into this being kidnapped torture thing, and so it's overcoming that. So actually I think you're wrong, but if it was both elements combined, I think that would have been even better. But
it'd be good.
Alrighty then, anything else to say?
No, I'm good. No, I'm done.
Brilliant. Well, take us home.
Well, I guess thank you so much for watching and listening again. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify. YouTube if you want to see his face, and you can cover up mine for all I care. You can find Bobby streaming as Bobby Android on Twitch. Once again, I am still not getting my act together, so do not find me. Do not look for me. Just find Bobby. Thank you for listening.
Beardy on Twitch.
Join us next time. Stop doing that. But yeah, until next time, bye-bye from us.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.